If you've ever struggled with your weight stalling out or hitting a plateau, the good news is you don't need to buy any expensive products or do any crazy detoxes or cleanses. It's really a very simple fix. And what I'm going to do in this video is break down the top 7 things you need to know and understand in order to make breaking through your weight loss plateau as simple and easy and as quick as possible. One of the major reasons people think they're hitting a weight loss plateau is because they're looking at the scale as the only source of whether or not they're making progress. And what I want you to know right now, in this very instant that I'm talking to you, is you will not, no matter what, lose weight every single day. It doesn't matter if you're perfect with your diet. It doesn't matter if you're perfect with your exercise. It doesn't matter, no matter what, the scale is going to fluctuate for a number of reasons, all of which I'm going to talk about in the rest of this video. But don't let the scale and the fact that it doesn't drop or maybe even spikes up occasionally deter you from continuing to be consistent. Because above all, consistency will dictate your progress. One of the most common reasons people think they're in a weight loss plateau is because they're eating later at night. All right, so for example, one of the things that happens with my online coaching clients, especially when we just start working together, is they'll go out on a weekend and they'll eat more than usual, and specifically they'll eat later than usual. And then when they send their daily check-in the next day with their weight, they're like, oh my God, I weigh more, I either gained fat or I hit a weight loss plateau, what's going on? And what I always explain is that when you're eating later at night and you weigh yourself normal time the next day, you're gonna weigh more. And it doesn't mean you gained fat, and it doesn't mean you're in a plateau. All it means is that you have more food or liquid in you, so the scale's gonna say you weigh more. That's it, nothing else. And if you think about it logically, just like imagine I have a 16-ounce bottle of water, and I drink all 16 ounces, I'm gonna weigh a pound more than I did before, just because I have an extra 16 ounces of water in my stomach. So if you're eating later at night, or if you're going out on the weekend, or if just in general, you have more fluids in you or food in you, understand it doesn't mean you're in a weight loss plateau or you gained fat. It just means you have more food in you, and that's it. So one of the most overlooked components of weight loss plateaus is how much salt you're eating. Now, first and foremost, eating salt isn't bad or unhealthy at all. It's totally fine. But when you eat more salt, whether it's from deli meats or cottage cheese or miso soup or whatever, the scale is gonna say you weigh a little bit more. And your pants might be a little bit tighter, and you might even look not as defined because you're holding a little bit of extra water weight. And that's fine. It doesn't mean you hit a plateau. It doesn't mean you're not making progress. All it means is that the salt is holding on to extra water in your body, and in a day or two, it'll flush right away as long as you continue to stay on point. Now, one of my online coaching clients, Tony, what he does is he really understands that when he has a higher salt meal, the scale is gonna say he weighs more. So what he'll do in our daily check-ins is he'll email me and he'll say, hey, I had a higher salt meal last night, so I know today I'm gonna weigh more, and maybe I even feel a little bit bloated or I don't look as defined. And what this does is it allows him to stay on track and make absolutely ridiculous progress because he knows to expect that scale increase is coming, all right? So if you have higher salt, don't think you hit a weight loss plateau. Just know that the scale's probably gonna be up a little bit, and that's totally fine. One thing that's really important to remember, if you're trying to lose weight and hitting a plateau, is stress can legitimately make the scale go up, and it can actually make you hold on to water. So even if you're not gaining weight, it will make it appear as though you are. So for example, my client Lisa, she lives in Canada, and she's done tremendously well. She's lost a ton of weight, built a lot of lean muscle. She can now maintain a way lower body weight without any trouble. And one of the things she's found out over the years is that when she's stressed, whether it's at work, in a relationship, whatever, her weight is going to go up. And that doesn't mean she's not making progress, and it doesn't mean she's in a plateau. All it means is that her weight is up and that as long as she continues to follow her guidelines, hit her calories, and hit her protein, she'll continue making progress, and she just sort of has to disregard what the scale is saying, knowing that it's because of stress at that point in time. And now we're going to talk about periods. And see, most of my online coaching clients are actually women. And one of the things that's really important to discuss with them when we're working together and beyond is that leading up to your period and during your period and even all the way through your period, your weight might actually be increased. And again, this isn't a plateau. This doesn't mean that you stopped losing fat. All it means is that the weight on the scale is going to be up. You might feel bloated. You might not feel like you're losing fat, but as long as you continue to hit your calories and continue to hit your protein, you are. So don't worry about what the scale says during your period. Don't even get on the scale. Just keep hitting your guidelines and you'll keep making progress. Couple things to know about strength training. First of all, it's actually really good for fat loss because you're gonna add more muscle, which is gonna help you burn more calories. But what's overlooked about strength training is it can actually put on weight, not like fat, but if you're weighing yourself after strength training, especially the day after a very heavy session, you might actually weigh more. Not necessarily because you put more muscle on, and definitely not because you put fat on, but because when your body gets stressed and your muscles get stressed, they hold on to water. So for example, my online coaching client Trevor, who's done a phenomenal job, one of the things that we had to work on a lot at the very beginning of our time working together was making sure he knew his weight would be up a little bit the day after a heavy strength training session. So if you're strength training or exercising and your weight bumps up a little bit more than usual, don't worry about it. Odds are your muscles are probably just holding on to a little bit of water. I think this is probably the most important one of the entire video. And what I really want to get across is the scale, well, it's really good from a data perspective and keeping track of your progress over time. From an everyday perspective, from what you're seeing on it, it's very fickle. Some days it'll be up, some days it'll be down, sometimes it'll stay the same. And if you're only judging your progress or whether or not you hit a plateau by going on the scale and looking at the day-to-day measurements, you're gonna get in your head and you're gonna think you're not making progress. So what I want you to do is instead of only focusing on the scale, I also want you to use measuring tape and to use your clothing and to use feedback from the mirror and pictures and what other people are telling you as more definitive. Because if your measurements are going down, you're making progress. If your clothes are fitting better, you're making progress. If you're looking in the mirror and liking how you look better, you're making progress. So by all means, use the scale, but don't let that dictate whether or not you're making progress, because regardless of whether or not you're losing fat, the scale will absolutely, unquestionably fluctuate up and down. So what this really all boils down to is that weight loss plateaus are not mythical or magical, and you don't need anything special to get through them. What you need to do is be consistent with exercise, consistent with nutrition, consistent with your sleep, and most importantly, be consistent with everything, even and especially when you don't feel like you're making progress. Because even if the scale isn't going down, or even if you don't feel like changes are happening, they probably are. You just need to give them enough time to make them happen and to see that end result. Because you're not going to be seeing changes every single day. Now, what I will say is this. I've worked with a lot of clients, okay? And what each client has found is that consistency is really the most important part of all this. But even though most people know they should be exercising, or know they should be eating right, or know they should be sleeping well, they aren't doing it. And a lot of times it's motivation, and a lot of times it's accountability. But the reality is this, you probably know what you should be doing, at least to some extent, but you might not be taking the action to make it happen. And if that's the case, every month I accept 2 new clients into my online coaching program. And if you're looking to lose more fat, build more muscle, be happier with how you look and perform, my online coaching might be right for you. And if it is, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave right here when I walk off the camera my email address that you can contact me at, and we'll see if we're a good match. If you are, great, and if not, we can still be friends. I'll talk to you soon. Hey, you ever hit a weight loss plateau? Join the club. Hey, let's scream, fuck yeah! Tropical storm here. And there's a kid playing soccer in Oklahoma. I don't know where Oklahoma is. One time I had a little too much ice cream, and then I'm lactose intolerant, and it became a serious issue. I think they fixed the door. I'm picking my nose, dude. Is how much salt you eat. I can get up there, no problem. You can see them? Does that make sense?